It's just another podcast. Gonna be picking it out. It's just another podcast. Gonna be picking it out. No time, kind of shit we're gonna talk about. Yeah, 'cause we got the Muscle Shoals motor mouth.
You got that right, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 'cause we're just picking it out.
We're just picking it out.
Hey, y'all. Oh.
Well, that looks like my buddy Andrew Pope.
Oh, man. Yep, my name's Andrew Pope, and thank y'all for tuning in again to Picking It Out. And real excited this week. We got my buddy, hit songwriter, Mr. Mark Narmore. Mark Narmore. The reason we're laughing is because we did this one time already, y'all, and we had some technical difficulties with Mark's mic rubbing his shirt. That's just a testament to our craziness that we always get into something crazy. You know, I mean, every single time, it never fails. So we did this whole show, and now we got to do it again. So it's kind of funny because we're trying to act like we ain't done it before, but we really have. So
well, that's
anyway,
all right, brother. Second time's a charm. Oh no, that's the third time.
Third time. Let's not get a third time. Oh, let's not get a third time. So, man, we've known each other for over 10 years, I guess. Been real close friends and wrote a lot of good songs together. And glad to have you on today to chat with us. What you been up to? How was that turkey and dressing?
Dr. Drew, that turkey and dressing was good, but it looked more like a lasagna.
Oh, something
the turkey kind of got, metamorphosized. It morphed. We had a Morphean turkey.
Oh, man.
It was good, though.
Yeah, ours was pretty good, too. We're still eating on it. Are you still eating on it?
No, goodness, no. You know, in my house, by the weekend, I had done clean that tray, that little Pyrex bowl was, and I was in here listening to Pyromania by Def Leppard and eating out of a Pyrex bowl.
I love
Pyro,
that.
Huh?
Pyromania.
That'd be a good country song, too. It was a pop rock hit. Me and you will probably write that, won't we? And Pyrex. We'll write a song called Pyrex.
That sounds like something we'd come up with, really.
It does. Like you'd probably say, I'm getting big as a T-Rex, eating the pie out of this Pyrex.
Eating the pie out of the Pyrex.
Getting taller than a T-Rex.
I really wish y'all could be a fly on the wall or, in the room with us when we get together, because we come up with any kind of crazy word, whether it's a real word or a made-up word, it's going to be said by either me or him.
It's going to be said, and it may even wind up in the song, mightn't it, Andrew?
It might. It has a few times. We wrote some damn good songs. Mark's wrote a ton of hits, as you can see back there. I can't really tell. What is that? What is them three there?
Let's see. One of them is Moon, of course. You know that one. One
Moon
in the middle
Georgia.
is Black Hawk. Moon over Georgia. And then there's Black Hawk, Like There Ain't No Yesterday in the middle, and Craig Morgan's song on the end.
Yep. That was a pretty big one, wasn't it?
Shoot, yeah, man. It's it's still kind of hanging in there on them weekends. I'm glad I put Sunday in the title because I didn't think about it, but they play it on Sunday a lot. Duh,
Yeah.
Mark, huh?
Are you in Nashville at your office?
No, I'm in the Shoals. I'm in my Center Star
Oh, Center
office.
Star.
Yeah,
Mark is a Muscle Shoals boy from way back here. Uh, but I think the first time we met was um, with Josh Turner, and I was at the John Anderson show, and y'all come
yeah,
up
that
there.
was over in Sheffield, Alabama. David Johnson was doing those. He
Yeah,
did quite a few of those shows, didn't he? He would do a street party in Sheffield and have some great, really good
yeah,
acts.
yeah. Confederate Railroad was there, I think, and John Headline. Man, I love John Anderson. He's a great one.
I
And
like
we
John. I
yeah,
like John.
Mark does a good impression. I do a bad one.
You do good. And I remember that night we met the guy from Confederate Railroad, Danny. I got to meet
Danny
Danny
Shirley, yeah.
Shirley. What a super guy! I know you and him and I were talking. You were buddies with him, and what a great, just one of the guys you think, man, he's so humble.
Yeah, he is, man.
Humility,
I don't,
man. That's a good thing, isn't it?
yeah, it is. I don't know many people in the business more humble than Danny Shirley, really. And I hope to have him on here and talk to him one day. So I won't talk about him too much now because I don't want to give nothing away.
Are you gonna
But
get his wife on with him? I think her name is Laverne, isn't it?
Laverne,
Laverne and Shirley.
that took me a minute. That one took me a minute, but I got it. Oh man. So, but yeah, I think the first time we wrote was in Nashville at Hal's.
It was at my Hal Lovin, my publisher's place there, and what a sweet. That's a really nice office, isn't it, Andrew?
Oh yeah, and he's a sweet guy
Very,
too. I like
very
him.
nice. He's such a great guy. But the cool thing about that office, and you know this, the Oak Ridge boys own that office, the building for maybe a couple of years. They had their publishing company in it before they moved over to, I think, 17th or 16th.
Hmm.
But for a short while, they had their publishing company there. Tony Brown was kind of their gopher. I hate to say secretary. He was kind of the gopher, go to do all kind of guy. But he was in the front office where my office used to be, where we wrote. Remember,
Oh
in
yeah,
the front.
yep. Ain't that something? Tony Brown being a gopher. I mean,
Yeah,
now he's this big time producer.
I mean things couldn't go any more like from be any more polar, right? One pole
Yeah,
or the other. I mean, from a go-to guy, gopher guy, to the king of Nashville.
yeah. George Strait, Reba, all of them. Big records
Now,
he's made.
what a great guy and a great piano player. I always liked Tony's
I've heard
piano
that.
picking too, because he played with Elvis. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that actually. I didn't know he
Played
played with
on the
Elvis.
road a little bit with Elvis, and I'm sure he may have played with the Oaks some as
Yeah,
well. I figure he probably did.
I saw him at I think it was in 2013 at George Jones Memorial that they had at the Opry House. I saw him there the last time I seen him, and the night before, what was the name of the band that played at the Station Inn? They did all George Jones tribute, and Rhonda Vincent and Daryl Singletary came in, and Daryl just did a whole set of old Possum songs, and I mean, just nobody could do them like him. Man, it's hard.
There were a few, as me and you have talked about. There have been quite a few people that sort of sound a bit like George. Whether they're trying or not. But Singletary, man, he just nailed that thing. And to me, it kind of fell between Haggard and Jones or Lefty. I mean, it had
Yeah,
all of those cats were rolled up in there somehow.
yeah, I agree. He was, man, what a singer. I mean, just a traditional country singing fool. It just didn't get
Oh
much
my
better.
goodness, he was great. That song, "The Pen," remember that?
Yes. And the Paycheck old violin, I love that. That
Which
just gives
was
you
recorded
chills.
in Muscle Shoals at East
Really?
Avalon. And Andrew, it's
Oh,
back
really?
up and running. After the pandemic gets done, we hope they'll be back up and recording a lot. And maybe me and you can write over there and record.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get back out there. And now is that Wishbone?
No, it's like almost it's about 80 yards behind Wishbone. The guy that was at Wishbone, Steve Moore, one of the engineers, at some point took out and in Muscle Shoals fashion decided to make his own studio, and it's in
Hmm.
an industrial park. If you look behind Wishbone, it's not 70 or 80 yards. You could probably throw a football that far.
Wow.
But also recorded in East Avalon, the studio I'm talking about, Andrew. The Forrester sisters, most of their first early hits were done there. Paycheck did old violin there. Quite a few others. Michelle Pilar, who was a contemporary Christian hit act, she cut there. Will McFarlane,
Hmm.
quite a few others too. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to get out there. Me and you was talking one day. I don't know if you said Bobby Tomlin told you or something, but you was talking about where Hank Jr. recorded the New South record, the one that Waylon and Richie Albright produced. Me and Shooter Jennings, that's our favorite record. I mean that like favorite Hank Jr. record. And we were talking one day, me and you, and it's now a dentist office or something like that, or is it for
yeah.
sale or what is it?
That was the Music Mill, on
Yeah,
Avalon Avenue. Yes, indeed. And I've heard. I was trying to think of somebody else that was around. I run into people occasionally around in the shows who mention that studio and mention Waylon and Hank, and trying
yeah.
to think who it was. I'll think of it later, and I'm going to write it down, and we'll maybe, like I say, when all this stuff is over, we're going to get me and you together. Maybe you could bring Shooter, maybe even like record in that building, or do something.
Oh yeah, it'd be
Do,
fun, man. He'd
do a
be all into
video,
that.
uh,
Something, yeah.
something, a little something, something.
A
That's
little
all you
something,
gotta
something, a
do.
little something, something in the shows. I love
There you
Muscle
go.
Shoals too. I mean, me and you, there was a point there for what 7 or 8 years ago. I mean, it seemed like every month or two we'd meet up at your office there in Muscle Shoals at the Cypress Moon.
I can see you pulling up down there at the river, buddy. Really, I mean, it's just in my
Yeah,
mind. And what a cool office space. I'm really
yeah,
blessed to have three offices actually. This one here at home, and
yeah.
I've got the one in Nashville at Hal Ovens Noble Vision, and then the one you're talking about is 1000 Alabama Avenue. It's Muscle Show Sound number 2, and we'll talk about it
Yeah,
as we go on. But it's right on the river, man. Were a lot of hits cut in there.
yeah. And we wrote a lot of songs in there. I remember one time. There's a lot of weird vibes you get in there, like you're not alone, kinda. But during that time when we was there a lot, it was kind of before this resurgence of muscle shoals and the tourism with all the studios and everything. I mean, you still had fame, but it was kind of before, all of them got going again. And it was, nobody was hardly ever there. So we had some strange things kind of happen.
Oh
But I
yeah,
loved it.
at that one point, I remember. I know what you're saying. Tanya Holly has owned it for 15 years, but there was kind of one era when I first got in there into my office. There were like a couple of three tenants. Grant Walden was in there. But we kind of had the run of the place, Andrew. Me and you and Grant, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big old building. I guess you could call it a big old spooky kind of building because it's like thousands of square footage of just two or three or four buildings fused together, isn't it? I mean, it's just really neat, really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of history behind it too, not just musically. But didn't you say it was like a power station or something? What kind of
Yeah, in the early
substance?
1900s, Tanya tells me that yeah, it was Sheffield's power station.
Wow.
And then before that, I think the Native Americans had used it there at the river. There's a cliff right behind it, kind of for a ceremonial place
Hmm.
to do some of their ceremonies. It was a baptismal before the dams came in, and covered up a lot of the river out there. The riverbed you could walk across where Cypress Moon is, and they would do baptisms out there. So yeah, a lot of different things, and the Navy owned it for about 30 or 40
Oh, that's
years.
right.
It was a Navy officers training sort of facility, and just pretty much a Navy hangout where the Navy folks could come, and
Yeah.
they had the gymnasiums, which the studios were actually built on those later lead outs, proms for local high schools, and dances. And Spooner, David Hood, Jimmy Johnson, Bebop, all those guys played dances on the gym floor, and then later played on hit records like by Bob Seger and Bob Dylan. Isn't that crazy? The
Ain't that
same
something?
floor, same gym floor.
Spooner Oldham. Of course, you're talking about your famous cousin.
My great first cousin Spooner Oldham, as we say here in Center Star, but across the world in the nether regions out there, they say Oldham. But he will answer to either one, man. He's such a great guy.
Yeah, he's probably got quite a few stories to tell. I'm sure. Did he play with Christofferson at
Let's see,
some
that was
point?
his buddy Donnie Fritz, who was a
Donnie
keyboard player
Fritz. Yeah.
also, who passed away in 2019. Donnie
Yeah.
spent 24 years with Chris on the road playing keyboards, Wurlitzer and Hammond B3 organ too, and was in some movies with Chris, the songwriter. Donnie was in that. Bring me the head of Alfredo Garcia. Donnie was in that with Bob Dylan and Chris. So Donnie had kind of had a second career as an actor.
Yeah. I love that last record that uh, was it John Paul White put out on him.
Oh, wasn't it just awesome and
Yeah, it
amazing? Yeah,
was.
great.
The world needed that. I mean, of course, we wouldn't know what would happen when he would pass, but I mean, I'm glad that record got made.
I'm with you, brother. I'm glad that was documented and just made that record so authentic. Just had
Yeah,
Donnie played Wurlitzer on all of it and didn't do any Pro Tools punching in or anything like that. It was just pretty much. I
just
mean, they
cut and dry.
overdubbed on it, of course, but
Yeah,
I think all the takes were full takes, and all the vocals were full vocal passes, pretty much.
yeah. The That's probably how you really got your start, I guess, and your love
Yeah,
for music anyway, right?
yeah, man. When I was a kid, looking at those guys and what they were doing, Spooner being my cousin, he had played on Aretha Franklin's record, that she did at Fame, and Spooner also played on Wilson Pickett Mustang Sally.
Oh
And I would
yeah,
ask my mama, what is this Aretha Franklin record? I mean, I didn't know who she was. And hey, mama, what is this? And she says, oh, that cousin Lyndon. We still call him Lyndon Spooner. That's his real name, but given name. But I couldn't believe it. I thought, you mean that's Lyndon? That's cousin Lyndon playing piano on that record, and it became a hit. I'd hear it on the radio, hear Mustang Sally on the radio. So for a kid, man, I mean, it set me up
yeah,
immediately to have a love for wanting to be a part of recordings and, sort of, I didn't care if I played or not. I just wanted to be on the back of the album where maybe somebody could read my name.
Yeah,
Maybe I could
sure.
have been an engineer or a songwriter. I just wanted to be a part of it and have my name on the back of an album jacket is really, and Donnie Fritz, like you said, he was around too. So he and Spooner were close to the same age and played, early on. They sort of were the first guys to come along in Muscle Shoals that were hanging out and getting it going. So yeah, they really did kind of set me up in a great way for a career in music. Yep.
You introduced me to a guy a few years back. Uh, People call him Peanut, but his name
Yeah.
is Earl Peanut Montgomery.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He
And
was there at the beginning too, just
yeah,
like Donnie and Spooner. Yep.
we wrote, the three of us, and Charlene, his wife, also. We wrote some songs together. You recorded one of them, I think.
Boy, they
Um,
sounded great. Peanut loved those songs, and he played one of them for Sammy Kershaw
yeah,
when Billy Lawson was working with Sammy, and I think they almost cut it, didn't they?
yeah. I think we got close. No cigar on that one. We've been close several times,
It's okay.
but
We'll
that's,
get the cigar, kind of like Saban and the boys when they win.
yeah,
Roll
victory.
Tide. We'll knock it out of the ballpark here one day.
I'm still on that April May song we wrote. I think that was the last song we wrote.
That's been
I'm not
about a year
sure.
ago. I can't believe it's been a year, but
Yeah,
time. As I get older and a little bit grayer, a little bit silver fox thing going in my hair there, the cliche is living up to itself, Andrew. You're still young, but time is just really flowing fast. I mean, the year since we wrote that seems about like a month or two to me.
yeah. It's been a strange time. I mean, it's. I've talked to so many musician friends of mine, and probably a lot of our mutual friends, really, and this whole thing has really wiped some people out. Um, and I don't know how it looks. I mean, I was telling Dana the other day when I was talking about having you on. I said, I think this is the first year that I've known Narmore, and we hadn't wrote at least one or two songs that year. But
So we've got to write. I mean,
it's
in
just,
the next month, brother, it means we at least got to write a couple of songs. I
yeah,
mean, it's a must do.
I'd love to. Man, I don't know if we talked about this or not really, but um, I I'm I'm real choosy, on who I write with these days. Used to, I just write with whoever, and yeah, I mean, you've been in those rooms with uh, you know, some of the guys, and they're even in your position, but they got these big egos, and they all say, well, you're gonna co-write songs, you leave your ego at the door, but they don't practice that themselves. Not all of them, but some of them, a lot of them. And I would
Right.
rather just write a song with you or Larry Gatlin or somebody, that I could have chemistry with than a guy that just got a cut on Luke Bryan. It's just I don't know. I'm a lot choosier now. It's got to mean something, to me. Um,
I'm with you, brother, and I think we were talking about humility earlier. Being humble goes a long way in life and the music business, and
sure.
luckily I haven't written with what I would call just out and out egotists. Maybe a few in 35 years,
Yeah.
but yeah, there probably have been a few. But I sort of try to, if I ever write with somebody who I feel like is just all about themselves and all ego, and I try not. I mean, it would behoove a person not to rebook with that person. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you were saying. You found the ones you work with, and you kind of weed out some of the others. But luckily, most people are good, as Luke Bryan said there. I try to be the optimist and find the good in everybody, but I don't blame you as far as not. You've really approached things from an artist standpoint. I think artists can be choosier, don't you think? Don't you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time for people that just want to do their own kind of music. I think. Well, maybe not so much this year, but before that, there's a lot of ways now to get music out there and do things. Things are still expensive, but they're a lot cheaper than what they were a long time ago. I think that that's the only way I know to do it, really. Like when I go do a show, I just, if it's just me and my guitar, we're kind of the only two in the room, and a lot of people say you don't play the same song the same way twice, more than once.
That's beautiful, though. That's the art and the beauty, just the sheer beauty to me of is being able to do it differently. And I love Bob Dylan so much, but I've seen Bob over 20 times with my best buddy Mike Clay from high school. We've been all over the country to see him. Never have seen Bob Dylan play like, say, Lay Lady Lay, or any song that you would know. You would never even recognize it, and that's beautiful to me.
Yeah,
totally recreate your art every time.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, I love, like, the best show I've probably ever been to in my life was probably ZZ Top, 38 Special, and Skinner.
Man, wow.
ZZ Top. I mean, and 38 Special too. I mean, they almost sounded like the record, but I like that too. I mean, that's art too, I think people express it in different ways, but it's that Muscle Shoals thing, man. It's like we was talking about. Anytime I've ever been there, I've got a vibe, and we always come out. It may be a crazy song, it may be a country to the core song. I mean, I remember one time, you remember half of that building was like hot, and then the other half was cold. And we go, I think it was the first time we actually went around the studio, and we go over on the other side, the other hallway, and it's like a grand piano in there, and we're sitting there, and it's so cold, and it's like August, I think, and I'm freezing to death, and you are too, and you sit down at the piano, and then I do, and I'm getting up walking, and we end up writing this damn Christmas song, In August, I do remember that the air conditioner somehow was like super cranked up, and I usually, over this pandemic period, I told you I've lost about 50 pounds, but back in that day, man, I think I found working on like being I'm 6'3", but 300 pounders. So I usually like some air conditioning, but it was doggone cold in there that day when we wrote that Christmas song, man. Yeah, and I think you told me that same piano in there, Bob Seger recorded Against the Wind. I think James Brown recorded in that room, man. And it's just crazy. You start thinking about all that.
Bob Dylan, Gotta Serve Somebody, that record, and Saved. Wow. That studio is really special to me too, man. I'm still have an office over there. My boss, publisher Hal Oven, has afforded me that, and all these years, Andrew, and I just love Muscle Shoals music so much, and me and you both are pretty much historians of country and rock and Muscle Shoals and Fort Payne and just all points. Alabama, really, aren't we?
Yeah, there's a few boys that came out of Fort Payne. They did okay.
I think they did, man.
And don't forget about the up on the mountain too, the Louvin brothers.
The who?
The Louvin brothers, Charlie and Ira.
Oh, yes, indeed, man. They really got
Oh
the
man,
thing going, to be honest with you. You know
they
what I
did.
mean? In like the, I would say 50s, right?
Yeah,
60s anyway.
I've not heard a harmony like Charlie and Ira's since then. They
Yeah,
had a
they
sound,
influenced
man.
so many people like the Everly Brothers and just
Yeah,
all kind of harmony folks that came after them. But yeah, Alabama is really a special place, not because me and you are from here. And it's nothing about the water. It's just the people, isn't it? It's the people and the talent level.
I think so. And you know, a young man from Montgomery, Hank Williams. I mean,
Good grief. I
he
mean, you're talking
influenced
like,
everybody from George Jones to, I mean, Mick Jagger to Dave Matthews to everybody. He
when you're
was the
talking the level to me of Hank Williams, it's like Hank and Elvis, and you might think this too. You know, of course, they only come along every 100 years or so, or every 50 years. But I think those names will, if the world stands, if the good Lord doesn't come back, before then,
hmm
I think 2 or 300 more years, people are gonna remember historically, kind of like we would remember Bach or Mozart or Chopin.
yeah,
I think they will remember. Oh yes, in the 20th century there was Hank Williams and Elvis Presley,
yeah,
and I can't. I'm sure there are others if you and I sat and thought about it, but those two specifically, come to my mind.
yeah. I think music was changed. You know, when country music was changed with Jimmy Rogers, and then Hank Williams just completely changed it. And Elvis, I mean, he pretty much put rock and roll on the map as far as I'm concerned. You know, I know they talk about the Beatles and the Invasion, and that was huge, but Elvis is a different rock and roll to me. It's not kind of the same. They put that kind of in the same box, and maybe it was back then. I wasn't alive back then. I don't really know. Um, I just kind of see it separately for some reason. But you basically got to work and write for Fame Publishing. Of course, Rick Hall gave you that opportunity. Anybody knows about the history of Muscle Shoals knows the name Rick Hall, don't they? When did you first meet
My
him? Do you remember?
my goodness, as even from when I was a kid, Andrew, it was kind of like in a good way. Like a mafioso, kind of like a big boss, the big boss man. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like this dude has got some juice and some
Yeah.
power. It's like respect. He was respected so much locally among the people, but over the whole world. Man, what a great
Yeah.
producer! And he proved it a whole bunch of times. In a lot of ways.
Yeah. He gained an interest in you. Was it over a local contest or something?
Yeah, WVNA radio. I was working over there. I had started out, as you know, at WLX in Lexington, 1984. Well, in '86, I was working at this pop station, spinning records like Wham and Bananarama. Really,
Yeah.
I love music, but that really wasn't my style.
Yeah.
If you're a DJ, you can play any kind of music and promote it. But anyway, I entered a contest, not really against my will, but the owners really pushed me into it because they thought the songs I was writing were really good. And to be honest with you, I thought they were pretty fairly mediocre because I'm really a perfectionist like you are. And even back then, mostly back then, I was so hard on myself and,
Yeah.
very perfectionistic. So I didn't think I had anything worth much, maybe in the middle. they were kind of coaxing me. Come on, Mark, you just enter it. I didn't believe in contests. I said, oh no, the politics. I'll
Yeah.
never win. Okay, we'll give it a try. Rick Hall was the local judge, and one of the song I turned in was called "I Can See Me in Your Eyes," and it was kind of a popish, sort of Lee Greenwood, like what you would have heard in the early '80s,
Mm-hmm.
like Michael Martin Murphy kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dirt band. I'm just in my head. I'm trying to think Eddie Raven. I'm trying to think of somebody it
Right.
would have sounded like. Kind of sounded in the vein of like an Eddie Raven or a Lee Greenwood. And I
Uh-huh.
recorded it at home on a Fostex 8-track recorder, believe it or not,
Hmm.
which was people really weren't recording that much in 1986 at home unless you
Yeah.
were like Tom Schultz of the group Boston.
Yeah.
So and as you know, I'm an engineer that is just a miracle. I can get anything turned on and working. So how I know that God has been with me all the way because I'm no engineer. I'm throwing microphones out because they sound horrible, throwing them out in the yard. The next
Yeah.
morning, I'm like, oh no, frustrated. But this song, Rick said he couldn't believe that I recorded it in my bedroom at home and that it was an awesome song. So to have him say that, and then he called me at the radio station and wanted to sign me to an exclusive publishing deal. I mean, that was my dream,
Wow.
Andrew, because I near worshipped the
Mm-hmm.
Muscle Shoals music industry, and to have Rick Hall, call me and offer me a songwriting deal. I mean, I could have quit at that point
Yeah.
on top.
And what was the first song you got cut with Fame?
The very first one was "The Moon Over Georgia," and
Oh
Larry
wow.
Boone recorded that song first. Did you know that? I can't
No, I
remember.
didn't know that.
Marty Rabin sang the demo.
Yeah.
Shenandoah's lead singer. He
Yeah,
sang the
you've played that for
demonstration
me.
recording. But before Shenandoah was going to record that fall, so in the summer when I wrote it, Mark Hall, who is Rick Hall's middle son, he was our song plugger, and he was good buddies at the time. And I know you are, and we both are with Buddy Cannon.
Oh
Buddy
yeah.
was working at Polygram Records as an A&R guy at the time,
Mm-hmm.
Mercury Polygram.
Mm-hmm.
So Buddy sort of, and he, as you know, he's a song man. He's really
Oh, the best.
jaded and kind of hard to impress. So
Yeah.
Buddy fell in love with the song and like, who wrote this? Who in the world wrote this song? And Mark, it was kind of a weird thing. Mark Hall told him, well, our new young writer, Mark Narmore, he's 22 years old, wrote this by himself. And again, Buddy, we had a co-write, I think a few months after that because Buddy, I think, wanted to. It was a calling card, like I've told you before with me. I'd written the song by myself, so I was able to write that with write a song with Buddy Cannon. But Buddy got the song to Ray Baker and Larry Boone, who I met Ray Baker a couple of years ago at Buzz Cason's studio in Berry Hill and got to thank him for producing my first cut. But
That's
Larry
cool.
Boone, who was a killer diller songwriter, as you know, along with Paul Nelson,
Sure.
who's a good buddy of mine, cut the song. I didn't know Paul until years later, but
Mm.
Larry did a great job on the song. Ray Baker
Wow.
produced it, and it actually came out on Mercury Polygram Records
Mm.
that summer of '89 before Shenandoah recorded it.
Wow. But then when Shenandoah come along, and like you said, Marty had sang on the demo. I think he kind of remembered that. Do you feel that way too?
Oh yeah, he kept it in his car, and he told me later.
Wow.
Like I say, I was about 10 years younger than Mike McGuire and Jim Seals, Ralph Ezell, Marty
Yeah.
Rabin, and Stan Thorne. So they were a little protective, kind of like a little brother. But I think Marty didn't want to get my hopes up
Yeah.
because he knew that the odds really are long with any song getting cut, aren't
Oh
they,
yeah.
Andrew? The odds are against you. So he knew that, and he knew he was going to fight for the song. But and fight he did, man. He and Mike McGuire took it in there and really promoted it with Rick, who already had publishing on it. That helped a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
The producer Rick Hall, I mean, so all the things worked out that were supposed to work out. I was there and I sort of knew what to write. I knew what Shenandoah was about. I knew their sound, so I kind of had a cookie cutter idea of where to go.
yeah,
And my publisher was also the producer. Marty just loved the song and sang it like it was his own on the demo. So tell me that God's not working in all that, because I
yeah.
was just blindly walking through it all, Andrew. I mean, like, I had no clue. I was clueless. So he just guided me through all those people and all those things.
And that would end up a top 10, right?
Yeah, it broke into as a number 9 in Billboard, and like maybe top 5 in like radio and records and Cashbox.
I love
That
that
was
song.
my first cut and second
Wow.
cut. I mean, the same song, Moon Over Georgia. So I really was young and not dumb, but impressed with it. And I thought, man, this will. I'd seen other people that had a hit that went on to have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 10 more.
In a row.
So I was getting ready for that
Yeah.
that train to roll, man. I
You
was
thought it
getting
was
ready
all
for it
pink
to come on
roses here
down the
on out.
line.
You thought it was all pink roses from here on out, didn't you?
I'm sorry, my earbud kind of went south. What did you say?
I said you thought it was all going to be pink roses from here on out, didn't you?
Going down the primrose path. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what a blessing that is in itself, and that's your first song to get recorded, and it's a number 9. I love that song. I mean, you know I do, but
Thanks. And I worked so hard on it, Andrew, because
you wrote it a
I
few
was at
times,
Fame
didn't you?
huh?
You wrote it a few times, didn't you?
Wrote it because I was young and I had written at Fame for a couple of years, but I really was a perfectionist and I knew I had a good title. I really did. And I knew if I could bring it home some way, if
Yeah.
God would give me the knowledge or somehow if I just knew how to write it and pull it off. But to do that, God, I think, let me dig very deep into my soul. I mean, farther than I don't even know where I dug, but I dug somewhere pretty deep, Andrew. And finally it came about. And as I worked on the song, it became simpler.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
The melody was tighter and more simpler melody. Because as a young writer, I tended to make things real wordy, real
Yeah.
flowery, a whole lot of chords. Well, I still do the chords. I get accused of that. I can't, but that's all right. But
Yeah, I mean,
Moon didn't have that many chords. It only had about 7 or 8
yeah, the chorus kind
chords
of,
in it.
yeah. But what a great song, and I mean, it would. I guess how long after that was it until you had your next cut?
Well, talking about that sophomore jinx, you have that big freshman
Yeah.
surge.
Yeah,
And you think, oh, I'm gonna hallelujah hands, it's gonna happen, and then you have what's called the sophomore curse or the sophomore jinx,
Jinx.
in your 10th grade year. It was at least, goodness gracious, 5, maybe 6 years before I got a sniff of another cut at all.
ain't that something?
Actually,
And
I
what was
got a
that?
couple right together, and one of them was Michelle Wright, whom I've really gotten to know the past year. We've written, and it's kind of neat to. She's such a super and sweet lady, but we've written
Canadian?
the last year or two, but
She's
she
from
cut
Canada?
a song of mine in Stephen Dale Jones called "Crank My Tractor" around 94, 95.
Okay.
And at the same time, around that same time, Blackhawk cut a song I wrote with Walt Aldridge called "Like There Ain't No Yesterday," and that was
Yeah.
like a 6-year differential between Moon Over Georgia and those two.
Now, Michelle, is she the one that sang "Take It Like a Man"?
Yeah, exactly.
And she's from Canada, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, I have heard she's a really sweet person.
Man, she's just great. We've wrote in person there at Noble Vision, where you and I wrote in Nashville at my publisher.
Yeah.
Also, during the pandemic, we've written on Zoom three or
Yeah.
4 times. So, yeah, she's funny, man. It's just we
I
have
like
a good
her
time.
voice.
Kind of like me and you do. A lot of laughing. You got to have a lot of laughter.
You got
involved.
to, man. Food and laughter. I mean, if
Food
you want to
and
write a song,
laughter.
that's what you do right there. We wrote songs at the Garden Gate restaurant. And then
Yeah, we
in the
did.
car on the way back while your car's leaking oil all over the damn road. I mean,
Oh yeah, we'll tell about the oil story here in just a minute. But the one about Fame, me and you recorded over there. The Garden Gate is right by Fame Recording
Yeah.
Studio. One of the songs me and you were recording at some point, we did like a really good demo of it at Fame.
Yeah. Hello, Rain.
Yeah, that's right. And you
Yeah.
played guitar.
Yeah.
And sang it, of course. And I was overdubbing some organ. And I'd never had this happen before. And the engineer, if you remember, he said it had never happened to him. He had heard of it.
Yeah,
I think he started Googling about it after it happened.
he
The
did.
power didn't go all the way down. It just dipped. It looked like the lights were going to go out and the voltage were just like a dimmer switch, right? It just
Yeah.
kind of dipped. And I stopped playing the organ, and then we hit record again, and I played I think it was in the key of B,
Yeah.
and it sounded like bagpipes or cats screaming. I mean, it was
weird, man.
horrible.
It was
It
so
was
weird.
horrible, and I'm thinking, what in the world? I thought y'all were playing a trick on me. But the tuning, when the power went down, it made the organ lose voltage
know.
somehow, and it changed the pitch of what the organ, the output. I mean, it was the most crazy thing I'd ever seen.
It is.
I thought y'all were playing a joke on me, and y'all thought I was playing a joke on you playing in the wrong key, right?
Yeah, we did. We did. We didn't know what the hell was going on because that was so strange. And
It was weird. When you're folks that don't know, you have to play in the same key. If
Yeah.
if someone is playing the
Yeah.
keyboard a song in the key of G, well, you better not be playing it in A, right?
yeah, it ain't gonna
I mean-
sound right.
But we had a good laugh about that, and I think we turned the organ on and off, and it fixed it.
Yeah, we did.
It was bizarre.
I think you played a
But-
kick drum with your hand on that too.
Yeah, I remember that.
Lay
I
it
got down on the floor and played that kick
Lay
drum
it down on
with
the
my
floor,
hand.
get it like that.
And I
yeah.
don't know why.
don't.
Because I thought I could, like being a piano guy and a strong right-hander. I was thinking, man, I can. You know what I mean? If you're real strong with something, I thought I could play that kick pedal with my right hand better than I could do it with my
No.
foot.
I've got a picture because I forgot that you was doing that, and I've got a picture of that day. And
Yeah.
because that's the only time I've ever been inside Fame, is when you took me and we did that demo, and you're laying down in the floor. You look like you're trying to get
playing
up, but you're laying on that left hand, and your wrist is turned back like this or something like that. And
Oh
you're
man, I was
you're-
300 pounds laying in the
you're
floor. There, I was a
slapping
big
it.
old boy.
You're slapping that kick pedal. Yeah, that was the only
Man,
time I've been
got
there. And
I've got to see some of that picture.
yeah, I'll send
but
it to you. You
Talking
took me
about
to
the send me that, yeah.
you took me to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame that day too, and introduced me to Miss Dixie over there. And
Yeah, my great friend Dixie Cannell Griffin, man, she is with the last 15 years. She's been one of my best buddies around to work with in Muscle Shoals and just in the music business.
yeah, that's what a cool place that is, man. If y'all have never seen, it was closed for a long time. It's opened back up now, and if you've never, it's in
Yeah.
Tuscumbia, which is kind of like the little the Tri-City, Sheffield, Florence, and Tuscumbia, right?
Right,
And it's all right there kind of together. Go to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. You're going to see everything from an old tour bus, Alabama. Didn't they? I think they said that they built the building or one side of it after they pulled that bus in.
Exactly right. They had
That's crazy.
yeah, they kind of had it in their thought, but before they got one of the walls finished, while they were still roughing the building in, they had to bring that bus in and then build build a museum around it. Yes.
And what a place that is, though. It's really cool.
Oh, it's grand, and a lot of people don't know, especially locally. It's just a grand, nice museum. First of
It
all,
is.
that of all the things it has in it to do with not only Muscle Shoals. I mean, there's a lot of Muscle Shoals memorabilia and artifacts in there, but like you're talking about, Aaron Wilburn has got things in there. And bless his heart,
Yeah.
he just passed away this past
Oh
week, and
man, he
thinking
did.
about his family, what a great guy. But he has some
Oh,
artifacts in there that he was with the Happy Goodmans, singing with Vestal Goodman, who came from your church, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there's Hank Williams, Audrey Williams, Hank Jr., Alabama, all kind of artists. Sticks, Tommy Shaw, Sticks,
yeah.
is from
Emmylou
Alabama.
Harris, Lionel Richie. I mean, it goes on and
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Tammy Wynette.
Yeah, Tammy. So, and the list goes on and on and on. So there are artifacts from all of those people, and it's just a beautiful. So yes, come to the Alabama
Well,
Music Hall of Fame in Tuscumbia. And all of
man,
the studios right now, Andrew, are doing tours so they can come to Cypress Moon,
yeah,
which is where my office is. You can come to Fame, which only does a tour in the morning and afternoon at 10 and 4. And 3614 Jackson Highway, they're doing tours pretty much every day.
yeah.
And it's limited amount of people on the tours, and you do wear a mask and social distance. But yeah, it's the tourism has they've been blessed, been able to keep it going here.
Well, I gotta say something about Aaron. I really do hate that. I know you told me he'd been sick, but I really hate that he passed. He was funny. My goodness, he was funny. We wrote half a song one time when we run out of time at CSAC in Nashville.
Wow.
But man, what a nice guy and brilliant. Just man, I really hate
Oh
that.
my goodness. Me and you like cleverness, and we're always cutting jokes, but that
Yeah.
guy, man, he on stage live, he could just so easily come up with a comeback or the most clever thing you've ever dreamed of in your life, and it'd be the perfect line, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And you could look at him and start laughing when he did that little giggle and nothing come out.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like that. I mean, he was. I mean, he was legendary, really too. Wasn't he? He was the big song that he wrote. I think for the Happy Goodman family.
What a beautiful day for the Lord to come again.
Uh
That's one of
huh.
the biggest songs in gospel music ever, right?
It is. Of course, me and you grew up in church, basically. So we're raised on gospel music. I love it. I know you do. We've wrote gospel songs before, uh, and I think there's just something to that. People that because not everybody gets that unless you kind of have that in you from the beginning. I feel like you can't get it with somebody else. I think that's one thing about me and you from the beginning that's clicked. You know.
Oh, I definitely, I know that, man. And we've written gospel songs. We haven't written all gospel. We have written some, but you're
Yeah.
right, because we were raised and we know what it's like to eat butter beans out of a Tupperware bowl, after
Mm-hmm.
church, green
Yeah.
beans. I mean, and just the people. You can't beat the people in church that we grew up with and that we're still with. I mean, they are just people that we've been around, Andrew, blessed, people that cared about us, right?
Oh yeah.
Promotive, positive,
Yeah.
you usually not negative,
Yeah.
usually positive people in church, praising God and helping each other. And it's really a cool, I wish everybody could have grown up like me and you in a small church. And I tell you, sometimes the music is wonky. It's a little crazy. Some of the pickers will be maybe out of meter or something, but it's the most beautiful
Yeah,
cacophony you've ever heard, right?
it is. And the music, like you said, Vestal Goodman was from my home church, Highway Church of God, in Fife, Alabama.
That's really unbelievable. Tell us a little about that, because Vestal Goodman is one to me of ladies in Christian Southern gospel music.
Oh,
She's sort of the queen.
she is. She is. She very highly respected in any genre of music, really. But what a sweet lady. I remember we'd have homecoming every once a year, and everybody cook a bunch of food, and we'd have Sunday morning service, and then singing, and she would come. Uh, Her and Howard sometimes, but she always came. And then we'd all go eat, and then we'd go back right before dark, and then they'd sing again. Man, what a singer she was. Uh, I have heard that whenever George Jones hit that bridge in 1999, I think it was, he called Vestal Goodman and to come to the hospital and come pray with him. And then they ended up recording Angel Band at the Ryman, or at the Opry. That's a great recording they've got of that. But yeah, that's pretty.
So she was definitely a godly woman, and George was friends with her, but he knew that she could get in touch with with God, and
he knew
and get high with that prayer, get it on up there.
Yeah, send it on up a little higher with her. Because everything was high. She could send anything up higher. She could take her voice up higher than anybody. I mean, but solid. I mean, just what a voice, and just always smiling. And
yeah, I saw Vestal. I'm trying to think, Andrew. I took my mom. My mom loved the Gaither, tour, the Gaither vocal band. But the tour they would do was unbelievable, man. They would have like the sound system. I mean, it was like a big rock show. It was so great and loud. I loved that. I mean, there would be like 20,000 people at every show, and like the Isaacs singing those high harmonies with that big cranking PA.
Yeah,
it's sort of. I mean, to me, it must have been sort of what heaven would sound like. But anyway, at one of those shows, or maybe both, they kind of had this staged. But when they brought Vestal in, they brought her in from the side and like down the steps, of the arena.
Yeah.
Across the floor, and the big spotlight followed her, white dress. I mean, like queenly, like here is the queen. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the queen of Southern Gospel, Vestal Goodman, and she came singing across there. I think it may have been Aaron's song, What a Beautiful Day for the Lord to Come Again.
Wow. You wrote one of my favorite songs. Of course, you had cuts later on by John Michael Montgomery and all kinds of people. But you wrote That's What I Love About Sunday. And that was a big, huge #1 hit for you and for Craig Morgan and for your co-writer, Adam Dorsey, right?
Adam Dorsey, yeah.
How did that you've told me the story before, but I don't know that you've talked about it.
Food, as me and food has to be a part of what we're doing. And it was the day we wrote this song in 2004. I was driving up to Nashville that day to write with Adam Dorsey, and we wrote at the same company, Jody Williams Music, which was a Sony Tree co-venture. But Josh Turner and Liz Rose, I'm trying to think who else was there. Taylor Swift hung there a bit, she was young. But anyway, 2004, I'm going up, and I did have a cell phone. I was tech savvy enough to have a cell phone by then, Andrew.
I don't believe
Adam
that.
Dorsey calls me up on my way and said, "Hey, man, let's meet. Where are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm about at Pulaski, Tennessee." He said, "Let's meet in Franklin at that Chinese restaurant that you like at the buffet, and I've got an idea for you. I think I've got something good," he said. So he was driving from Spring Hill, and we set a time. And we sat down there, and I thought, man, that's what I love about Sunday. I couldn't get that song anymore because that was my life. I mean, he sort of
Yeah.
nailed me. Like, if you're going to present me with a title that I've lived and I could write and I really knew about it, I mean, it was, and you could too, man. It was speaking our
Yeah.
language and
It's a it's a
growing up in
movie.
church
It's a
and
movie, dude.
he
It's
sort of had a melodic idea, which was kind of like a James Taylor, and he told me he really was a fan of Moon Over Georgia and Shenandoah. Adam was. So in a cool way, I think he sort of honored me and sort of brought in kind of the smoothness. I mean, like the James Taylorness of what I would have brought in melodically, and of course I added melodically to it. But he kind of had the chord pattern and the melody for the verses,
yeah.
and we just went to town on it, man. We started writing right there at the table, and I think he was writing stuff down, I was writing, and when we got to Jody's that afternoon, we finished it, and we kept on going. I wish we had recorded it. We just, like comedians, we were making up silly stuff at the
Yeah.
end of it, like me and you do, and
Yeah.
but I knew it was good. I knew it felt like a good, solid song, but I couldn't have predicted that it would be a 5-week number one
Ain't
because
that
I'd written
something?
a lot of songs about Mama and the good Lord and church
Mm-hmm.
and trucks and Friday
Chicken and
night
all that.
lights and
Yeah.
football, and I thought, well, this is probably one of those hometown,
Yeah.
eating at grandma's house kind of songs.
Yeah.
Didn't really know if anybody was cutting any like that, but it was time. It was past 9/11 had come about, and those songs that really went back and had like if not a spiritual nature, a good home and calming and country type nature, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Definitely.
God was in
It's-
a lot of the songs. After 9/11, the nation, in a great way, turned back, and
Yeah.
country music sort of turned back to those kind of songs, didn't they?
They did, and that is got to be such a huge blessing. Probably one that still blesses you to this day.
Yeah, it is, and people recognize the song and remember it, and that floors me because I'm like my dad and mom both. I mean, they were so humble, so I hope I can honor them and always try. I'm not always humble, but I try to be like Jesus would have been in treating people. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm proud of that one. It has Sunday in the title, so it gets a lot of Sunday spins.
Yeah.
And I didn't plan it that way, or neither did Adam Dorsey, but I think that's why it's had a life past,
Yeah.
this 15 years it's still going because it gets a lot of spins on the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of got like a Christmas song, you know. That's
Yeah, right.
anybody that wrote those old Christmas
there's a
songs,
seasonal-
man.
Yeah, there's a weekly seasonal component to it. You're right. Yep.
But yeah, that's by far that's one of Craig Morgan's biggest songs too. I think, isn't it? If not his biggest.
That's one of his biggest. And thank you for saying that's one of your favorite, because I know if you had been in on it, you would have easily. It felt real cool because I felt like Adam was kind of targeting me,
Yeah.
kind of almost like I was the artist in a way, in the coolest way, because he knew I knew Sundays in the South,
Yeah.
Adam knew them too. He knew church, but he came from Los Angeles, and it was he said his churching was a little bit different than the South. I can imagine, right?
Yeah. Probably so. You can't compete with the ones down here, man. even the ones that are not just crazy snake handlers and stuff like that, they
But I
still,
love even that. I mean, like the
yeah, that's
preachers
what
that get on fire and start.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, they get wound up. I love that. I actually miss that where they may be pounding on the pulpit. We might even see a splinter flying. They're for real. They're
yeah,
serious about getting that gospel message out, and all of them are serious about getting it said correctly, aren't they, Andrew? In the right way.
yeah, they are. Um, it's me and you, we could talk about all kinds of stuff, but just we need to get together and write again because this has been such a strange time. That's why I'm doing this thing, man. Because I've been out of touch, with a lot of my friends from this business. And I just, I don't, when we get together, I don't sit and ask you questions. I'm just not that person. So it's kind of an opportunity to kind of have a conversation that we wouldn't have normally. We wouldn't be having
Yeah,
this
we
conversation.
wouldn't. I was going to say that earlier. You and I are talking about the song we're writing or just what we're going through in our lives. So
Yeah.
it's been kind of cool to like, go over some of these bridges and roads, man, with you.
Yeah, it's kind of different. It's different for me too. It's a whole new avenue, but I feel like maybe people can benefit from some of it. You know, I'm not trying to be an interviewer or anything like that. We're having a conversation and everybody gets to see it and hear it. That's the way I look at it.
And
Uh,
like you say, in this time when there are quite a few more shut-ins than usual, just
yeah,
think of all the people, not only your fans. I mean, I hope all of them will be converted, but think about the older folks,
yeah,
someone who might just somebody might who might be depressed or down. I mean,
sure,
very severely depressed. Maybe our smile and something we say, if we could just make them happy for just to smile and get out of that funk and that depression, even for a little bit, we've done our job, right? Or
yeah,
God has done his job through us.
yeah. That's right. I feel like people ask sometimes, where do you get an idea for a song? And you can't really answer that question because it can come from literally anywhere. It can come from a blue shoe on the floor, or it can come from a church sign, or it can come from a dream in the middle of the night, and you have to wake up and just get it down, and you don't even know where it came from. I just feel like God puts it there, and it's up to you to grab it and do something with it. It's hard to answer
Right.
that question.
Yeah, that is a hard one to answer when people ask me because they literally can come from anywhere. But me and you both, I've sort of also had a calling card and a blessing as a title guy, as somebody who comes in with some really good, strong titles, and you do too. Me and you study those, and it doesn't come. It comes with a lot of work, doesn't it, Andrew? Because I've constantly, my whole life, been looking for those song ideas and those great titles, especially after I heard the early 80s when I heard what Nashville songwriters were doing and Muscle Shoals writers too.
Yeah.
The cleverness that got twisted with, I know you're friends with the Bellamy's, with David and Howard.
Oh Lord, yeah.
What they were doing, what Eddie Raven was doing,
Man. Yeah.
Ronnie Millsap, all those cats, the cleverness of the songs. I mean, that set me on a tirade to find great song titles. And I know
Yeah.
everybody does, but I really have been blessed to be able to, and I spend a lot of time looking for them. And I think the people that say they don't have titles, well, you just have to spend time. It's like fishing. And I think, Andrew, the title really sometimes is more important than the writing of the actual song because you're going to, sometimes I get like that DNA the strain of what it's supposed to be just by the title, don't you?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's interesting because it does kind of feel that way sometimes. Or a title can just set you off. A title, sometimes I've had just a title, and I know it's a title. You remember Storm Chaser? You
Yeah.
know, we co-wrote Storm Chaser with Dave Smith. I had that title, and I had the part of that in my head. And we were getting together that next week, and that thing would not stop spinning around my brain. And then we put it down, and we finished it. But I could vision. It's almost like a vision you can see.
Beautiful, great lyric, man. Me and
Oh
you
yeah,
always, well, I say beautiful because there were some lines in it. Me and you have always twist and find,
yeah,
saying with him, with Dave, something that's out of the box. And that's what
yeah.
we're all looking for, I guess. We're all looking for vocal performance, maybe. A producer's looking for that performance that's sort
Sure.
of out of the box and almost like out of the ether from heaven or from a different place.
Yeah,
And when I perform, I sort of get this way, and I think it's maybe spirit related. If I'm playing like in church and really or going hard at it for an hour, sometimes I will lose myself
yeah.
in that performance, and I
I do it
won't.
all the time.
Things will be, people will be putting chairs up at the end of the night on tables, and I'm going like, what happened? I mean, where did everybody go? You
Yeah,
know, it's like a trance like. So I think when we write, we look maybe spiritually from somewhere else. We're letting all that come to us, aren't we, Andrew? Like an antenna.
yeah. I think so. Um, and man, we've we've had such some good lines we've come up with. And usually, what it is I say one and you say the next one, or you say one and
Yeah,
I say the next one, and it's like, oh yeah, I mean, I feel like a little kid sometimes when you cut. It's like you just
yeah.
scored a touchdown on the Pee Wee football
Yeah,
team or
you
something.
feel like that aha moment,
Yeah,
the touchdown hands, hallelujah, touchdown hands, raised up. But yeah, when you find that line, it's just a great feeling. I mean, and it's great. It's a great line in a song. It's out of the box and
there's nothing
original,
better.
genuine and original and
Yes,
creative.
Running After Rainbows, which I cut for Stone on the One, my last record. Man, you wrote that song. That came together so fast. I think we wrote it in. I think we wrote that one in Nashville. I'm not. I'm not
And that
quite
was one,
sure.
if you don't mind saying, you were processing some stuff of your own, and
Yeah.
that one was I felt like your soul uh, was open to writing that one.
Yeah, it was a different time back then, and I don't even know. That's another one, like you said about Moon Over Georgia. I don't even know where that came from. Uh, but man, we sure nailed her to the wall. I mean, that song right there. You know, Dana, my wife, she's got that tattooed on her shoulder, on her back. That's kind of that's a whole nother feeling, isn't it? Like somebody wants to etch that in their skin. It's something that you came out of your brain and you don't even know why it came out of your brain. And you got people asking why and you don't even know how to answer it. But it's
Yeah,
great, man. It's God. It's a
it's
God thing.
another, it's a God thing for sure, because yeah, that's all it could be,
Yeah.
because it's good. People have liked it, and it's made them happy, and they've, like you say, to get a tattoo or to even like remember it and like bring it up to
Yeah.
you, sing it back to you. Uh, that is really cool, when they remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's an ultimate feeling like none other, as far as I'm concerned. Now, uh, you know, you remember the day that we were at Muscle Shoals, we were at Cypress Moon, and we locked ourselves in somehow. Now, this is back in the time where, that we were talking about earlier. This is back when it was just basically me and you there, and Grant sometimes was there. Tanya would come in sometimes, but it was basically me and you there. We were going to lunch, and you had a key, and for some damn reason or another, we couldn't get the door unlocked, and it just had unlocked.
I remember that the front door would not, for some reason, would not unlock, and we tried and tried. But, oh my goodness, how do we get out of here?
We ended up, because we was hungry, so we ended up in the back. Got the bright idea, and I had flip-flops on, I think, and like Under Armour shorts, so they'd snag on anything sharp and just like tear the threads out. I had the bright idea to turn the trash can over back there, flip it over upside down, and try to hop up on it real quick and jump over that fence. But now the fence has got 3 strands of barbed wire at the top.
It looked like some kind of actual, kind of like a prison. Like
yeah,
barbed wire up on the top, like it slants.
It did.
Like it slants over toward you, 3 strands of it.
Yeah, it did. Well, but I get up there. Wait a minute. We had a cinder block, too. I forgot where the cinder block came in.
The cinder blocks we put the garbage can up on like a couple of cinder blocks, and our brains just weren't thinking. I wasn't thinking straight, and you weren't, because we were trying to get out of there.
Yeah, we was trying to get some garden gate, man, or roses or something.
Trying to get some food. I wasn't thinking that plastic garbage can is going to collapse when you stand on it. I didn't think that until it happened.
I reckon I thought I was like the Flash or something. But I had ate a lot, because that's the time whenever I was going, me and you was writing in most shows all the time, we'd go eat. And so I eat a lot back then. I still do, but I did back then too. And man, I hopped up on that thing, and the whole damn thing just caved in. And the block fell on my ankle.
Yeah, you fell down in that block, cut your ankle, you were bleeding, I remember.
Yeah, and that did bleed. How did we get out of there? I can't even remember how we got out of there. Now, we finally got did we finally get the door? That's happened a couple of times, actually. That's such a weird place.
That was, I remember that day, because it seems like Tanya came in there. She was about to do an event.
That's right.
The Budweiser
folks that came
by there. She was trying to hook up a keg, and me and you had come through there.
Right.
We were kind of clueless, or I was. You might not have been. I was trying to pretend I knew how to hook it up. I didn't know how, and we sprayed beer on that leg. And that's pretty much like putting alcohol on an open wound.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, man, it burnt your leg, so you got to probably help clean it out, though. It probably actually helped you,
I was trying to tap it. And, boy, I tapped it all right, and it sprayed. Before it went all the way in, it sprayed, and it, out of all the damn angles it could have hit, it sprayed directly.
The ankle angle. It hit your ankle at an angle.
Yeah.
But I that was so bizarre, man. But it was so funny. I mean, one of the things, me and you laughed about it later, but I thought that beer hit you right on that open wound there where you'd been bleeding. I know
it burned like hell.
It burnt like the Dickens,
It burnt like hell, even more than them L.A. Lights did that Lee Greenwood sung about. I tell you, man.
Oh, my goodness.
I can't believe it even. I mean, I wish they could see it, because I wish they could see how the chances of it angling toward my ankle like that and just hitting it straight on right there on the open wound.
That is really bizarre. I mean, that's like one of the things I was almost questioning, like, is somebody playing a trick on us? Is this like a reality, or something? But yeah, that was for real. And I know we're going to do some more of these.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Better have me back on it. These are so fun. But we'll There are a couple of more stories I want to bring up. A couple of Cypress Moon, and one with Jeff Cook's Cook Sound Studio, where you are real close to Jeff, and we're writing for him, and had me up there. We'll tell them all about those things.
Oh yeah, let's do part 2, man.
Yeah, part 2.
We'll do part 2. We could do this daily and still talk about stuff.
That healed up though. You texted me a week or two later, and that ankle was still kind of, man. I mean, you didn't need stitches, but man, it kind of cut it, didn't it? Cut in there.
That block fell on it, and that's the way it hit it, and it bruised that ankle bone too, because that block just rolled over on it, and it felt like it was in slow motion. That's the funniest thing. That's crazy. We've had so many crazy times.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that next time.
Amen, man. What a good fun to think about these things for me and you, Andrew, too.
Yeah, it is.
It's good to have a belly laugh. The Bible says laughter is good like a medicine, and it really is. It is. Endorphins and dopamine, get that going in your brain.
Yeah.
Serotonin.
And I'm just glad that we had a halfway successful session this time, because I don't think the third time would have been the charm.
People could have seen that last one. I had like some earbuds, and one of the earbuds was a microphone, and I didn't know it. And I had it in my shirt, rustling it around, wasn't I?
Yeah. So it was like, yeah, Andrew. Yeah, we're gonna get. Yeah. That's what it sounded like.
I'll tell folks the surprise you had this time, and you haven't said anything about it, but this whole hour, I haven't had a stationary camera. It's kind of been moving around. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that at all?
Oh yeah, and half of it's looked like you was on Atari game console or something, because it's just pixelated. Yes, the internet.
It is. So what did you think about this moving camera? I mean, you didn't comment on it at all.
I got a little dizzy. I got a Coke right here, though. I'm drinking, so I was keeping my stomach.
I was moving it pretty much the whole time.
The whole time, yeah. Well, see, it's weird because, I mean, I did see it, but I'm looking at the camera on my laptop, because it looks like when you watch it back, I'm looking at you. I'm really not looking at you. But when I look down at you and I look at myself on here, I look like I'm just looking out the window or something, like stupid, So I'm trying to look at the camera, but yeah, I've noticed it's been moving the whole time.
Well, cool, man. I'm glad you did. I thought it would add like a little element of surprise, a
little dramatic effect there. Hopefully it won't be.
Yeah, and like in the middle of the interview, you couldn't really say what's going on with your camera, because I might actually have a camera person you don't know, so it's like, what?
Oh man, let's do part 2, man.
That Telecaster has taken a big role in this one, hadn't it? That red Telecaster.
It looks like it's a big part of your shoulder. Like a shoulder pad or something just coming up off your shoulder.
That's
oh
funny,
man. Well, we've been
talking with you, Dr. Drew.
Oh yeah, you too, always, man. Yeah, we've been talking to Mark Narmore, my good buddy, monster songwriter. Had a bunch of hits. We're gonna do part 2 coming up in the next few weeks, but. Oh, tell them where they can get you on, find you on social media and your website and all that. They want to look you up.
Man, you can find me all day long at www.marknarmore.com, and that's MarkNarmore.com. And I laugh at the radio voice. You knew when we first started writing together, Andrew. We talked about I'd worked in radio, but we pull up to the darn. I think it was like a McDonald's drive-through, and you nearly lost it laughing. I thought, what is Andrew? You were like, because I didn't realize it, but you said I'd put on like some radio stuff when I do my ordering. It's like
Yeah.
y'all have a Big Mac and some fries and yeah, some onion. Well, not onion rings at McDonald's, but yeah, a couple of Big Macs and extra Mac sauce and some fries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Pepper. Yeah,
You-
and you were laughing, and I thought, you said, man, you sound like a DJ every time we go to order.
Yeah.
Like it anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good times, man. We've always had good times. We'll still have some more.
Oh, we'll have plenty more, man. We'll have plenty doggone more.
Good talking to you. Good seeing you. Tell Sandy I said hello.
Tell Dana I said howdy, and this really is good therapy, and we're great friends, and I know that will come across to everybody. It'll just give everybody an ease and a comfort going through this season of Christmas. Some people get depressed anyway, and this year it'll be even probably worse for a lot of people. So we hope that we can just look like a couple of comfortable
Idiots.
guys here
Yeah.
just sitting talking, and
That's really what we
maybe
do.
they will tune you in and tune us in and get the vibe, the godly vibe that we're trying to put out there.
That's it. Appreciate y'all tuning in to Picking It Out, and we'll see you next time.
And I'm going to leave y'all with, I'm going to do a couple of, pretend I'm in radio and give you a couple of three liners here. How about, hey, thanks y'all for tuning in to Picking It Out with my buddy, Andrew Pope. Hey! That'd be where I messed up. You'll edit that out, but
Yeah.
Hey, you've been listening to the crazy man, Andrew Pope, and his crazy compatriot, Mark Narmore, on Picking It Out.
Compatriot.
And we're not talking about something he dropped in his spittoon either. Well, I dropped my glasses in the spittoon. I was over there picking it out. Let's see.
I like that one.
No, I'm kidding. That's funny.
Oh, man.
Love y'all, Andrew, and we'll catch you next time. I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Yes, sir. See y'all next time.